Okay, okay.
So,
Okay, thank you
so
for reminding
dun
me.
sa third Japanese attending, Iwamoto Masaaki.
Oh, yeah. I mean the newcomer here, right?
I guess so. I don't know
Yeah,
him.
right, right. I heard from the Kazuya, Professor Kazuya. He is a distribute, like like this notice, my notice, and he expect just some teachers or some members from the Japan. Okay, I expect so. Okay. Anyway, welcome newcomers, and later we can maybe give a chance to introduce newcomers. Okay, so I'd like to welcome all of you. So good evening. Okay, here in Korean time and Japan, we are in the around 8:40. Okay, 45 or so. Good evening. And good morning. Okay, some of the area like United States and Spain. Good morning and good afternoon. Okay, to all our distinguished colleagues and let me. Okay, still I'm sorry, sir. Still members are coming here. Sorry. Okay, okay.
Yeah, there are 74 participants at the moment.
Uh, I gave you the Bernard as the co-host. So if you see, you can accept them, please. Okay. Just some members, okay? Mhm. Okay, okay.
Yeah, Reslan.
Okay. Reslan, yeah, Ambassador Reslan, okay. So
Mag-
good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all our distinguished colleagues and friends joining us from around the world. I am Song Kang on behalf of the History NGO Forum for Peace in East Asia. It's my great pleasure to warmly welcome you to the 123rd Global Thursday Forum. This time, okay, this occasion is 123rd. After more than 2 months of winter break, okay, here in Korea, we have a long winter break. I'm truly delighted that we can reconnect, resume our conversations, and continue building this international community dedicated to dialogue, learning, and collaboration. Since its beginning in 2020, the Global Thursday Forum has served as a platform where scholars, educators, NGO leaders, and peace builders come together to discuss history, democracy, peace building, and global issues. More than just an academic exchange, this forum has become a vital network that strengthens friendships, fosters understanding, and encourages collective reflection on some of the most pressing issues of our time. This year, 2025, holds special significance as it marks the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. And for many countries, the 80th anniversary of liberation from imperial occupation. It is in this historical context that we open the first session of this year's Thursday Forum series. From now until July, we'll focus on themes of historical memory, global order, democracy, peace building, and conflict resolution. Today, we are honored to welcome Dr. Bernard Karganilla from the University of the Philippines, Manila, who will present on the topic, the 80th anniversary of the victory of the original United Nations over Hitlerism. His presentation will help us reflect not only on past struggles and victories, but also on the challenges and responsibilities that remain for all of us as members of a global community. Before we begin, I am also pleased to introduce today's moderator, Dr. Sweet Lauha Siriung. a former president of Nakhon Phanom University in Thailand, and a respected scholar and leader in regional cooperation and education. Now, I would like to turn the floor over to Dr. Sweet to guide us through today's session. Okay, Dr. Sweet, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Song-ho. Greetings, everyone. It's my great honor to be the moderator for the first global forum for this year. It seemed like we had a very, very long break. And I'm very delighted that Professor Bernard Karganilla will be the first speaker for the forum this year, and he already brought many of his students to join the forum tonight. So I won't take much time. Just for those of you who may not know Professor Karganilla, I asked ChatGPT whether whether ChatGPT know Bernard, and here's what ChatGPT told me, that Professor Bernard Karganilla is at University of the Philippines, Manila, specifically within the Department of Social Science of the College of Art and Science. His academic focus encompasses Philippines and Asian history as well as public administration. Beyond his teaching responsibilities, Dr. Karganilla is an active contributor to scholarly discussion on historic and socio-political topics. He regularly writes articles for the Malaya Business Insight, addressing subjects such as World War II events in the Philippines, the global war on terror, and a lot more. Okay, so if ChatGPT is not correct, Bernard, you can make a correction. The topic tonight, it's also very interesting that Professor Bernard Karganilla gonna talk about the 80th anniversary of the victory of the original United Nations over Hitlerism. The actual 80th anniversary of the United Nations will be in May, I think. But anyway, I think it's very appropriate, and many people would be interested to learn from Professor Bernard about the topics today. And I hope all of you will actively engage in the questioning, exchange, the discussion later on. So in the interest of time, I hope Professor Bernard can present his topics in about half an hour, not more than half an hour if possible. Okay, Bernard, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Sweet. I am honored by your kind introduction. At the same time, I put the link to my column. So the bulk of the World War II stuff is in that column. I would like to recognize our fellow ASEAN Ambassador Reslan is here. And I'm going to follow the lead of Mikio. because I will put the discussion in the framework of conflict management. But because this is about conflict management, we will begin with a 2-minute music while you download the link and read my column.
俺に目を合わせるなちょっと待ってあなたの恋を今日よこそ俺が見た時君も見てるでしょ心に埋めてしまったんだよ俺に目を合わせるなちょっと待ってあなたの恋を今日よこそ俺が見た時君も見てるでしょ俺たちはまだまだ準備ができてないから無理でしょ無理だろ無理だよ君と俺の間は隙間大きすぎてね会えない届かない俺に目を合わせるなちょっと待ってあなたの恋を今日よこそ俺が見た時君も見てるでしょ
Okay, so I played that song as a musical background there to our talk because the title of that song is Conflict. And it's a mellow Japanese song because if you've already read my column, the language is quite assertive. So there are 83 of us right now, and here is my presentation. So the framework is conflict management. And you will see the slides are composed of pictures. So let's start with the first slide. Okay, so the first point, the elements of non-violent conflict. The elements of non-violent conflict, first of all, is that conflict is inevitable because we all have our desires, we all have our interests, we all have our tastes, you know, the very diversity which enriches us is also a cause for conflict. So, elements of non-violent conflict, conflict is inevitable. Number two, conflict by itself is neither good nor bad. Conflict by itself is neither good nor bad. It is just a difference. Number 3, conflict is a process. So it's not a one-time thing. There might be an initial encounter that is not resolved. So it builds up. And sometimes it builds up to the extent that it becomes what is called a conflict tornado. Next, both conflict and avoiding conflict, they both consume energy. So if you think that conflict is very tiresome, well, avoiding conflict also consumes our time and our energy. Second to the last element of non-violent conflict is that it has elements of both content and feeling. Meaning to say, there is a substance to the conflict. In Filipino, may pinagtatalunan. There's a contention over something. And unfortunately, humans being humans, emotions are invested over the difference. And so lastly, the elements of non-violent conflict. If you are in that situation, you can choose to be proactive or reactive in handling the conflict. Okay, next. There are other key terms. So for example, although dispute and conflict appear to be synonyms, one source says that a dispute is more adversarial in nature. But in the case of conflict, conflict can be hostile, but not always. So a dispute might be more hostile than a conflict, but that's just maybe splitting terms. Another key term associated with conflict is competition. And competition is simply a rivalry. A rivalry between two groups or a rivalry between two individuals at least over an outcome they both seek. So it takes two to tango. So some organizations, some cultures, some persons, they privilege competition over cooperation. And then there is interpersonal violence. And when we say interpersonal violence, it already involves an intent to harm. Filipino, gusto mo nang manakit? Interpersonal violence involves acts of aggression. Okay, there are several levels of conflict. Several levels of conflict. One is within an individual, which we call intrapersonal conflict. Dealing with your inner demons, grappling between your base instincts and your better angels. Then there is, as mentioned earlier, interpersonal conflict, which is between two parties, between two families, between two political parties, between two gangs, between two companies, which may also lead to intergroup conflict. So it's larger than interpersonal conflict. And finally, interorganizational conflict, which would include conflict between and among nations. Now, intrapersonal conflict can arise because of differences in roles. Because we have several roles. Son, husband, sibling, worker, manager. And therefore, there are competing demands on our time and competing demands on our energy. So for example, you may be heading one team, but at the same time, you're also a member of another team. And the two teams to which you belong might be in competition. So another type of intrapersonal conflict, that means within a person, involves role ambiguity. Role ambiguity. So in this slide, you can see on the left, that is Spawn, and on the right, that is the shadow. So the story of Spawn is that he is a good person who is forced to do bad things. Because essentially, he was a policeman, but he was forced to do evil. And his opposite is the shadow, who is a bad man, but a force makes him do good things. So there is role ambiguity. So you can be a good person that is compelled to do bad things, or you're a bad person who is forced to do good things. Role ambiguity. And so interpersonal conflict is among individuals. So for example, there was a survey, 32% of CEOs, 32% of chief executive officers resigned from their jobs because they had conflict with the board of directors. Now, interpersonal conflicts often tend to get highly personal. And sometimes it is difficult to distinguish between the opponent's position and the opponent's personhood. Sometimes it gets difficult to separate the position of your opponent and the personhood of your opponent. It's a bloody mixture. Now, intergroup conflict can be the most complicated form of conflict because of the number of individuals involved. Coalitions can result in a mentality of it is us against them. For those who are joining just now, I'm beginning my discussion by putting the 80th anniversary of World War II in the framework of conflict management. In interorganizational conflict, well, we're seeing that right now. For example, the trade war that is being waged between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. Interorganizational conflict. And in each case, in the case of interorganizational conflict, the conflict between nations, both parties inevitably feel that the pursuit of their goals is being frustrated by the other party. They're being prevented from getting to where you want to go, and that can be very frustrating. Now, there are also another way of looking at this is that there are 4 types of conflict. One is that there is, like I said earlier, a conflict over goals. So it could be a zero-sum game because you're trying to get to the same place. Another type of conflict is cognitive conflict because you believe in different things. And then there is affective conflict because your emotions clash. And finally, you have behavioral conflict, which is rooted in relationships. So conflicts can erupt over tasks. What to do, what to do, what to do. conflicts can erupt over process, that is how to do things. I want to do things one way and you want to do things the other way. And finally, conflicts can erupt over status. So, the most commonly accepted model of the process of conflicts that there are three stages. So the first stage is frustration because you're not being satisfied. You're not getting what you want, no matter how mature you are. So it begins with frustration. And then it moves on to the stage of conceptualization, which means you are now coming up with explanations on why you are being frustrated, which leads to the third stage, behavior. So your concept points to the other party because the other party is behaving in a manner that is prejudicial to you. And finally, the fourth stage is the conflict over outcome, whether you will get what you want or not. So to bring home the point, conflict can be traced to frustration over almost anything. If an individual cares about something and he's not being satisfied, he will be frustrated. If a group wants something and they're being prevented from enjoying that thing, they get frustrated. So it is the frustration that triggers it. Now, in stage 2, the conceptualization stage, the two parties, they attempt to understand the nature of the problem. Is it a problem that can be solved, or is it a wicked problem, or is it intractable? And then both parties, they think, what is it that we want as a resolution? Is it a win-lose situation, a win-win, or a lose-lose? But this is what I want. And I'm trying to guess what the other side also wants. So based on my own desire and my guess as to the feeling of the other side, then I will make the necessary strategy to resolving this conflict. So this stage, the conceptualization stage, is really the problem-solving stage. So there are at least 5 modes for conflict resolution. One mode is competition, which can go on forever. Then a second mode is collaboration. We will privilege our cooperation over competition. A third mode is, okay, I will compromise. A fourth mode for conflict resolution is, I'll just avoid you. I will keep on avoiding you so that we will not clash. And finally, the fifth mode is accommodation, which may amount to surrender. So in this process, both sides determine the extent to which a satisfactory resolution can be and has been achieved. In the process, side A and side B, they will decide is the parameters by which the outcome has been achieved. Unfortunately, if one party is not satisfied, although the present conflict may have been resolved, the seeds of discontent are sown and it may bloom into a later conflict. So, the escalating dispute will take on a life of its own. And the escalation will often happen beyond reason, beyond rationality, unless a conscious effort is made to conclude the dispute. So there are cultural factors on how we engage in conflict, and there are so many cultural factors. And one thing that, especially in Asia, but not limited to Asia, is the involvement of face. I think here in Asia, we privilege face, the loss of face, embarrassment in short. And so both sides must engage in face work, saving face, so that I will not be embarrassed or that you will not be embarrassed. But if I do not make an effort to avoid your embarrassment, that the conflict will go on. So there are different factors and strategies for saving face. So for example, maybe this is not only true in the Philippines, but there are some professions that ascribe to themselves a strong face that the least thing may embarrass them. So, it's riding a high horse. In fact, there is a Filipino author who wrote about this. It's called The Men Who Play Gods. It's about doctors. It's about physicians. So, this belief in face, in embarrassment, even Rizal has identified as the beginnings of conflict. So, the different conflict management styles, there are only 4, very specific to save face. One is accommodation. A second one is avoidance. A third one is competition. And a fourth one is collaboration. So, of course, if we are interested in peace, we would put priority to collaboration. You don't want accommodation because that might mean surrender. Unfortunately, because of location, you may not be able to avoid the conflict. But there are entities and there are situations where even if you want peace, collaboration will not resolve the conflict because you're dealing with groups like the Yakuza. And so, to recap, there are specific face work strategies for conflict management, and these are differing styles. Specific face work strategies leading to 4 different conflict management styles. Number 1 is accommodation, which simply means giving in. Number 2 is avoidance, which means pretending that the conflict does not exist. The third conflict management style is competition, which entails defense of your position, which involves persuading the other side. And finally, number 4, collaboration, which means having a private discussion so that there is no loss of face. Collaboration, which means remaining calm. So, everything I've mentioned is usually implemented or usually imposed or normally used in conflicts among people of your own kind, your loved one, your family, your friends, your neighbors. You have so many books on conflict management, but there are certain conflicts where they may not apply. And one example of a conflict which has been very difficult to resolve is, of course, World War II. And the main discussion is in the link to my column, which I placed in the chat box. So I will just pick a few slides of what entailed World War II. So as Sung Ho mentioned earlier, last month and up to early this month, we observed the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Manila. But for one whole month, the liberation entailed combat, street by street, building by building, and even room by room. So the liberation of Manila entailed one whole month of combat, day by day. And so this winner of the Ramon Magsaysay Award last year correctly described what happened 80 years ago. It was urban warfare. That's one. That is correct. And urban warfare is much, much more problematic than fighting in an open field. Hayao Miyazaki also was correct in saying that the wartime Japanese did a lot of terrible things. Unless you ask me, I will not say, because they are really too terrible. And contrary to the Geneva Conventions, the forces of Hirohito at that time killed many civilians in Manila. How many? 100,000. And even those who survived, they bore scars, which included my own aunt, who survived the massacre at the German club in Manila. She was burned by the Japanese. She survived, so she's not one of the 100,000 who died, but she carried the scars of her burning up to 2020 when she died. And she was a young woman at that time. Her name is Asuncion Marbas, and she testified in the war crimes trial. She was not killed, but the Japanese burned her for being a nurse to an American family, and they were all gathered in German club a few blocks away from my campus. And so Hayao Miyazaki, who received his Ramon Magsaysay Award in Manila last year, is correct in saying the Japanese people must not forget this. I also call your attention to the fact that in 2016, under a different president, the emperor at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, I think his name is Heisei Tenno. He visited the Philippines.
Akihito.
Yes, Akihito. And before he left Tokyo, he made a statement. You can find this in the website of the Imperial Household. So Akihito, before he abdicated, also recognized this phenomenon of the rape of Manila. And the end result of his visit is that he bowed before the tomb of the unknown soldiers in our hero cemetery. Akihito and the Empress. And so I must also salute the guerrillas who fought in the Battle of Manila. That is Guerrilla Colonel Emmanuel Video Campo of the Hunters ROTC guerrillas. He's an old man here, but he was only 19 years old when he fought in the Battle of Manila. And here he is describing where they entered the city and their encounter with the how and why the Japanese soldiers behaved in my city 80 years ago. And he used a Visayan term in describing that. So, because I placed this in the framework of management, we must, of course, recall this very simple guidance from the guru of management gurus, Peter Drucker, who escaped Austria because he felt that he could not live in a Europe where the Nazis took power. He's actually Austrian. He left when the Nazis took power. That doing the right thing is important than doing the thing right. And here I would like to show you my campus. This is from a screen grab. That is my campus. It took elements of the 5th Cavalry of the United States Army 4 days to clear my building of 250 Japanese soldiers who were determined to die in that building. And so what do you expect us to do? Do you expect us to simply forget the existence of fascism and Nazism at that time? When you can see here this Japanese gentleman reenacting World War II as if they did not lose. These are not cosplayers, these are reenactors. And this is a very serious reenactment. Of course, this is very provocative. Do you expect us to forget this? Do you expect us to forget the destruction of the city? Manila was the second most destroyed city after Warsaw. Do you expect us not to teach this? Do you expect us not to notice that the Axis was the combination of the fascist powers? And apparently, World War II is still being fought in the streets of Tokyo by the same Axis powers. So, just to be clear, on the left side, you have photos of 8 years ago, but on the right side, you have photos of today. This is an intentional juxtaposition. Is there any difference? Same here. On the left, you have photos from 8 years ago of the Japanese fascists and the Nazis together, smiling. And today, what is this? Why do we find this in the streets of Tokyo after everything that has happened? And so our task is to complete the sustainable development goals. In this case, SDG number 16. And I ask you, how can we promote peaceful and inclusive societies when we still see this? Yes, let us work hand in hand to promote peace, but there has to be justice and there has to be accountable institutions everywhere. So if you want a peaceful Asia, we have to create it. Not by whitewashing history, but by having this conversation. So with that, I thank you. So I hope Dr. Suwit, that was only 30 minutes. Again, thank you for joining the first Global Thursday Forum of this season. Mabuhay.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Karganilla. Yeah, you take 30 minutes as I suggest. So we will have plenty of time for question discussion. You can either raise your hand or write in the chat box if you don't want to speak. And because tonight we had very big number of participants, so I would ask Sang Ho and Professor Bernard to help me
Sure.
also identify those
Yeah,
who.
there are 89 of us right now, gentlemen.
Oh, okay.
There are 89 of us.
Yeah.
I put the link to my column again in the chat box.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Who would like to be the first one?
I'd like to hear Christina because I missed her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Por favor, por favor.
I do have a question actually.
Yes, please.
I am in, where am I? I'm in Geneva, and I go quite often to the United Nations. And I'm looking at the articles, and I'm looking at Article 33, Chapter 6, that deals with Pacific settlement of disputes. So we do have a strong institution that deals with conflicts and dispute settlements in a Pacific way, as written in the UN Charter, but somehow is not being taken seriously. In fact, it's not being used. So I personally think that we do have the institutions. We have the United Nations and its charter. But how is it being used? How is it being accomplished? How is the mission being accomplished? Do we need to renew the charter? Do we need to, what is it that we need to do now? Or is the institution too weak because of the Security Council? That's my question to you,
Okay.
Bernard.
I think that's for everyone, Senorita, because
Yes.
I'm already doing my
Yeah.
bit, writing about it and presenting. So what more can I do except visit you in Geneva?
I actually have to say, well, congratulations for the presentation, and it's a very good point. But I do think, following on to your last comment, I do think we do have the institutions, and perhaps now, 80 years later, we need to consider to make some changes, because, like you say, well, everything changes in the world. Nothing is constant. Is it not the time now, 80 years later, soon 100 years later, that we make some changes to the UN? But it's still the Constitution is strong. It gives us a good tool.
Well, in the case of the Philippines, little by little, they're integrating ASEAN and human rights into the curriculum. And in fact, we have begun to train the public school teachers. But that is only on our side. And, there are 10 of us in ASEAN. And I would like to remind my brothers and sisters in the ASEAN that the whole of Southeast Asia is meant to be a zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality, a ZOPFAN. And by treaty, the whole of Southeast Asia, a different treaty, the whole of Southeast Asia is supposed to be a nuclear weapons-free zone. So, gracias, yes.
But Professor Bernard, if I understand well, we had one of your political leaders writing the Human Rights Declaration, right? I don't recall his name, but he was from the Philippines. He was
Carlos
an
P.
intellect.
Romulo, probably.
Romulo.
Carlos P. Romulo, yes.
Yes. Because there's something that I'm very interested in learning and perhaps writing, that the UN Charter needs to have more of an Asian outlook. But and then I'm thinking, well, we have the Chinese writing, we have Philippines intellectuals also writing. Do you think, and this is my personal question to you, do you think we need to have more of a nation outlook in the United Nations Charter and human rights?
Did you say national outlook or Asian?
Asian from Asia. Not the West, the Eastern outlook.
Well, if you say Asia, you have Mahatma Gandhi, but you also have Mao Zedong. You have Sukarno. You also have Xi Jinping. Which Asians are we talking about?
I was not expecting that answer.
You have Buddhists and you have War Shintoists. So you have the Om Shinrikyo. And, so which Asians are we talking about?
The non-violent
Well, yeah,
philosophy of Asia.
But the thing is, Senorita, even Mahatma Gandhi, when he was alive, he actually wrote 2 letters to Adolf Hitler. And I quoted that in my column. But I doubt that the Mahatma would have been able to persuade Hitler to give up. No, the very problem with the fascists is that they divide the people into 2 groups, the Untermensch and the Übermensch. No, that there are subhumans who the Nazis have called as pests. So I don't think there is any reconciliation with that. And Satyagraha, the Mahatma's very provocative but non-violent movement, unfortunately would not have worked on people like Hitler or Hirohito for that matter. But yes, of course, we should make an effort integrate not just Asian but African and Latin American concepts. No, like Kalidad Humana. You may have heard of that, Kalidad Humana. I think it's one of the Latin American countries that took up the mantle of Kalidad Humana. And for Bhutan, if you remember, there's their unit of measure is gross national happiness. Yeah, so yes, of course. So thank you, Christina.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
If I may say something.
Yes,
This is
Christel.
McDonald.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, and thank you, Catherine, for coming with your comments with regard to the United Nations. I guess I have to. No, I am on. You mentioned perhaps changing the charter, and that is something which I cannot see happening, not only now in our situation with our present administration, but certainly not in general, because it would have to go through our Congress, and I can't see any positive attitude from there. I love the United Nations. My husband was very much involved in the United Nations work while he was at the State Department. Actually, I had to agree to get married on the United Nations birthday, 24th of October. So that was one of the conditions for our marriage, that I liked the United Nations. The United Nations, I think it's about 10% of the work of the United Nations, which we always hear about, and that because of the media. But there are another 85 or 90% of the United Nations, which is focusing on economic and social matters. And we hardly hear about it. And that is one of the positive aspects of the United Nations. Even now, we have, through the World Health Organization, if you don't have that little yellow passport, you would get a vaccination at every country you enter. Now you have the yellow passport from the World Health Organization. If you turn on your radio, you are on the same wavelengths. You always have uninterrupted radio disturbances because of the International Telecommunications Organization in Geneva. So you can take so many of the UN agencies. You have the International Labour Organization, and imagine if we would not have them look over our work in the individual countries. So there are so many positive aspects of the UN, which I would really praise, and that we need to maintain that. So to get any changes at the United Nations, I feel there is reform needed, but there is already something going on. It's not, the UN is no longer just governments. They, for example, you look at the Millennium Goals, and I don't know whether you have noticed that for every Millennium Goal, where the governments are acting, there is now something which are called academic hubs. So if you go to the UN Academic Hub Goal 16, you find conflict resolution. And there is an academic hub that is where citizens participate. And I leave it at that, but look up the academic hubs for the Millennium Goals. I'll stop here. Thank you.
It's a very
thank you,
good
Crystal.
tip. Yeah, we look for the academic hubs. We will certainly look into that. Danke
Thank
for
you.
that.
Actually, as with regard to academic goal or Millennium Goal, in the academic hubs, you find goal 16, and that's conflict resolution. And I'm proud to say that there are about 300 universities who participate in that particular goal. And the chair of that Academic Hub 16 is the Carter School from George Mason University, the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution. So you have, well, I'm on the advisory board, so you can always ask me, and I pass on any questions which you have to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. Any students would like to be the first one to ask question or raise your points for discussion?
Yeah, students, they are attending the class, okay? So encourage them to participate more active, discussion.
Where's Mikio?
Yeah, Asakawa is here. Mikio is here.
There are two Mikio.
And Mikio,
Yeah, Mikio Oichi, I mean.
Professor, my colleague Youngdal Oh, Chungnam National University, he is here. Already we discussed, briefly here what the reform of the United Nations, or what some change of the UN Charter or something. That is a very big agenda. So in our series of our forum, always that UN reform was included, right? The one Dr. Popovsky, Dr. Vasilij Popovsky, he always join this forum as a presenter on this topic. Okay, and I hear we have the former ambassador here to the United Nations, like Ambassador Jenny is here, and also Professor O, Youngdal O. He's specializing in the UN, United Nations. So if we can invite.
Okay, Professor O, you raised your hand, so please.
Professor, you are muted.
Turn on your microphone, please.
I'm very poor in handling the gadget. Okay, I'm very glad to see you again through this Zoom conference. Even though I'm not sure whether I'm following the whole process of the presentation, but my feeling is that we are discussing the question of war and in relation to UN, the role of UN, and so yes, some of you mentioned that we need to reform the UN system, but as for me, I believe that it's more a matter of the political leaders' vision rather than the institution or the UN Charter articles and so on. So when we have good leaders, the international relations don't have many problems. But when we have certain political leaders, we have many problems, regardless of whether we have UN system or not. Bernard, Professor Bernard presented on Manila war in Manila at the end of World War II. That's my understanding. So you try to show the atrocities Japanese military committed at the end of World War II. Yes, one of the most important purposes of the establishment of the UN was to prevent another such disastrous war. Yes, for a long time, actually, we human community has been enjoying long-standing peaceful coexistence. But unfortunately, nowadays, in Ukraine and Middle East, we are we are seeing really tragic things through wars. So, and particularly I see in Ukraine, and where it's a matter of political leaders and their vision returning to national chauvinism or something like that. So as we academic circle members, we need to really reclaim the importance of the value of peace throughout the human community. So we need to really resist kind of new trend to going back to national chauvinism. Even the United States, a new administration over there, President Trump, really disappointing. Personally, me. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor O. Professor Bernard, would you like to have a quick response?
Yeah, well, I put in the chat box a more specific discussion of the rape of Manila. That one I'm screen sharing right now. From Indonesia, we have Ambassador Reslan Jenny and we have Fitri who are here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Fitri. Thank you also for Professor Bernard for your presentation. I also apologize that I joined late because I work now in Jakarta. Then actually, yeah, this is the crucial issue about the war, and also about the you mentioned about the Hitler, and also post I mean, like, such as a violation, weaponization of technology, and extremists. And my question is, because as I am as a young young leader, so, and also here also I think there are a lot of my friends, my friends of students, yeah, from the other university, that maybe my question is, what should the Gen Z or the millennial or the young leader, young activists, and young human rights defenders, action for this issue? That's my question, Professor Bernard. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.
Sister Fitri, I think we should ask the Gen Z or who are here. How about Elizabeth Altea? You might see Fitri is asking your views. Elizabeth Altea. Elizabeth. Tinatanong kayo ng Indonesian. Elizabeth.
Yeah, because I think this is not only Philippines, yeah, but this is also Indonesia and worldwide. And as this is a space that it is regional and international. And as young leaders, what we can do to, respond for this issue. Maybe some of our Gen Z or millennial friends here can, elaborate or discuss about this. Thank you.
Yeah, Sister Fitri, I'm trying to call. Zai, do you want to answer that? Dami-dami nyo rito eh. Not the master's one, the undergrad, tinatanong kayo. Sige na, one of you take on the, wait, Sister Fitri, I'm calling on them to comment. Pakisagot naman yung tanong ni Fitri. Yeah, Jared will
Okay, Jared. Yes, please.
Sir, views on the World War as Gen Z's
Yeah,
part of the
open
Gen Z
your
community.
camera, please. Also,
Yeah.
Roger.
Okay. Hi, I just want to introduce myself again. I'm Jared. I'm from speech pathology, and I'm also a little bit of a World War enthusiast. Back in high school, and I just wanted to say that as a Gen Z person, I realized that if I was born 100 years ago, or maybe less than 100 years ago, I would be maybe drafted into war, because usually they take the youth. The youth are usually the targeted population to fight for their country. And as a person under pre-med, I like to help people, and I'm also kind of I'm afraid of taking another life, even though it's for my country. I'm still very afraid of that. I'm more of a person who helps other people. So it's hard to imagine that a person my age back then had to go with this. And obviously there's after the war, there's PTSD, and there's other mental illnesses that come with being drafted. Like, so I also want to mention that even though you are a survivor, you still have effects like shell shock, which is not a good thing. Or it's not, it affects your life, really. So just to summarize, I'm glad, I'm actually very happy that there were people who took on the challenge to lay their lives down for their own country, and I'm hoping that the world wars, not only just two but also World War One, it won't happen again. Yeah, I'm just hoping that we don't have to deal with that anymore. So yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
Yeah,
you,
my
thank
Jared.
you.
undergrad student.
Now,
Let us
Roger,
call
yes.
Roger Jane, my master student who
Yeah.
works in the Department of National Defense.
Oh.
Hello, good evening. So yes, I'm Rajaya Jane Cabarles. And actually I would like to just give a brief answer to the question regarding the Gen Z, even though I'm almost part of the Gen Z. I'm actually still part of millennial. But anyway, we noticed that the Gen Z are very active in social media platforms now. With this, I suggest that given the challenges that we have right now, I would promote for young leaders and especially for Gen Z who aspire to do what is good. Like they could utilize this technology to combats disinformation most especially, and maybe advocate for a more data driven policy making if they wanted in the future, of course, to pursue a future especially related to the public service. And we know that with this we can actually improve um, transparency and accountability, which is one of the most important things being in the public service. That's all.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
I? Yeah, can I
Yeah,
respond?
please.
Yeah.
Fitri,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah. Thank you. Also, Roger and also Jared. I think so that I also like agree with Jared that you mentioned that the war not happen again, but the war is like I think it's coming again with the other image like militarisms, dictatorship, and authoritarianisms, and I think in Indonesia now. Today, the government of Indonesia just passed the revision of the military law that it will be, undermines the human rights and democracy. That it means also it's a war, even it is not like the, like the old session, like the War One, the War Two, but it is the post-war that we have been challenged, like not only Indonesia but also Philippines with Bongbong Marcos, and also South Korea with the martial law that we in South Korea also still, the young leaders still protest about the impeachment of the president of South Korea. So I think I also agree with Roger that we as a young leader or Gen Z or millennial can utilize the digital technology to combat and to end the I don't know is it post-war or not, but I think this is more than the dangerous than before because we face the militarisms, we face dictatorship and also authoritarianisms, not only in Southeast Asia but worldwide. I think that's my response. Thanks so much, Professor Bernard, for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Bernard, you'd like to have a quick response?
No, I think I'd like to hear more from the Gen Z if they're willing.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Open your mic, Michaela.
Ogara, yeah, please.
Yes, but am I audible?
Yes,
Yep.
loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I think if we're talking about fascism and oppression, I think the first thing that we really have to realize is that it actually doesn't always show up in someone's uniform, or it actually comes in different forms. I think we can see it in our everyday things, in mundane things like what you said a while ago, misinformation, nationalism disguised as patriotism, and attacks on press freedom like we see nowadays, and actually laws that are broken that slowly strips away people's rights. And actually that's why Gen Z nowadays it has such a crucial role in pushing back, because we are actually more open, and we're more open and vocal than the previous generations that come before us. So with that, we have really the power to disrupt the cycle of this oppression. And I think it would start in education, like educating ourselves, joining forums like this, and actually understanding history, not just the sanitized version that is that we get in the textbooks, but um more the real stories of resistance, oppression, from the narratives of those people who actually experience it. That's why I'm very grateful for the opportunities that Professor Karganilla um gave us to really hear the stories of what really transpired during the World War II. And I think with that, yes, we have to be vocal as Gen Zs, and we have to um, really use the platforms that we have right now, especially that we are living in a digital world right now. And with those platforms, when we get to educate ourselves, we have to call out the dangerous rhetoric that we see online, the revisionism, the historical revisionism that we see online. And I think the third one that I can suggest is that we actually need to build communities, because I think that fascism and oppression um, thrives in division, fear, and silence. That's why we have to speak up. We have to be vocal about what is true and what really transpired, so that the future generations can really learn from it and continue to fight for it. So that's my point for that.
Okay, thank you, Bakara. We have baby boomers raise their hand, but I think we'll finish the Gen Z first. So, Diane?
Hello po. Siguro also coming from Department of Education, it's really good to hear the Gen Zs that are open, but they also know what is happening right now in the country. Not only in the country, but around the world, since information is really open right now due to the technology. I would like to share lang po that in the Department of Education, we are really fighting for literacy in all levels, in all of our learners. And it's really difficult right now because some forces want to completely change the curriculum that we do not include history in senior high school. But of course, we are fighting for that because of course what I have personally learned also from Professor Karganilla in all of his classes, history is really important and we should always think about it. We have a lot to learn about our history. So there po. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Okay.
for this opportunity po.
Okay, thank you. Ladan, you raised your hand for a while now. Make it brief,
Um,
please.
okay, so just to weigh into the previous question, the topics of the presentation revolved around a never-ending cycle of hatred and ideals that are not suited to this modern age. So, in the essence of the question was, what was our role as Gen Zs to combat this, to break out of this cycle? So, in my opinion, intellectuals such as yourselves have already done so much to combat this. So, I think it falls onto us, to the next generation, to combat this. So our role would be to just be the informed public that comes to combat this uh never-ending cycle of hatred. So it's our role to be part of a collective voice that speaks up to break free from this cycle. So just to make it quick, that's my piece. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ladan. We will end Gen Z with Rachel. Make it quick, point, please. Then we will turn to Professor Mikio and Kan Mikio. The two Mikios will follow. Okay, Rachel.
So, for me, history is very important to be known or to be aware of it. So, we must not revise of what happened and we must not forget what happened because most of the Gen Zs or millennials nowadays easily believe in fake news all around in social media. So we must know how to search for facts and we must use also our voice to encourage other millennials or Gen Zs to give importance to our rights or in human rights because and also we must or our government must create laws to protect it from being violated by others.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we turn to baby boomers. Professor Miki Oishi, please.
Thank you, Ajahn Sui, and also thank you very much, Bernard-san, for your very thought-provoking presentation. So basically, I want to tell, maybe I want to, how they say maybe 3 points, maybe a lot, 3 points. But and also partly in response to and what the young people say so far. Yeah? Maybe first thing is that I think it's good for us to have this concept now. Maybe already you know human security. This is a new idea, yeah? Human security. This one, human security versus national security. Yeah. And for a long time, national security is considered very important, right? Because this one is that the security of the country is very important. And sometimes we should be prepared to sacrifice ourselves to protect the country, right? This is the traditional idea of national security. But human security is kind of the, other way around. Human security, the security of ASEAN, each of us, our own security. And usually it's considered in terms of freedom from fear. We need not to live under the constant fear. We need not to live like that. And also we need not to worry about maybe the poverty. Yeah? And this is the freedom from want. And this is the basic idea. And then now the new role of state, the new idea of the state is the protector of human security within the country. So to the degree the state protects the security of each of us, human security, to that degree the state sovereignty can be respected internationally. I think this is a quite kind in a sense very revolutionary idea. Compare with the conventional idea, national security. National security, we are supposed to come up to defend the country, and then we are expected to sacrifice. And then there are a lot of the negative things happening, right? And I don't know whether this is the right, correct example. And Ukraine, and there are a lot of the fake news about Ukraine, but I think increasingly, the fact that the Ukraine government is now just kidnap, just pick up the young people and fit for fighting from the street, and then send them to the front line, yeah, in the conflict, and they don't have the sufficient training as a soldier. Just they're sent to the front line, and then within maybe 1 day or 2 days, and most of them are killed. And I don't think this is a very blatant example of the violation of human security. I think such a state shouldn't exist, you know, because state doesn't protect the life of its people, and the state demands the sacrifice of the people just to survive as a state. Yeah? But anyway, so this concept and quite increasingly important. And of course, many of you, and especially Philippine people, you are very patriotic, quite good, patriotic, very supreme and sublime idea. But only those of you who want to serve the country as a profession, then of course they should join in the and the military service, yeah? And then this is their job to protect and their own people. Yeah? But for the normal people, basically, I prefer that people just enjoy the daily life, just and they need not think about country. Maybe a bit extreme. Maybe second point. I have been changing from the old position. I used to be the, how they say, more leftist and liberal and cosmopolitan and globalist. But now I'm now changing. I'm more becoming a traditionalist and grassroots oriented. And I want to respect the culture, the way of life in the place I was born. But in my case, this is not Japan, but my hometown and surrounding area, not Japan. Because when I say Japan, then it's quite abstract, yeah? And getting abstract is often dangerous, actually, because by abstraction, we just lose touch of the real people living in our daily life, in our hometown, right? So I'm not the Japanese, but I'm a Japan archipelagoist, Japanese archipelago. A lot of the variety of culture, regional culture, different way of life, and how they develop the certain way of life in response to the variety of the natural environment. And I subscribe this idea. So my position is like that. So, but yeah, definitely my position is so-called nationalism. Yeah? Nationalism is more abstract and could be dangerous. And yeah, so but the issue is that how each of us has our own community, yeah? And a certain community in the Philippines, certain community in Korea, Indonesia, or wherever. And then so that I would like to encourage them to return to their grassroots, but not to become a nationalist. But in that case, maybe the government role is to protect the people under its own responsibility. Yeah? So the responsibility of the Korean government is to protect its own people under own in Korea, also same as Japanese government, right? But of course, protection means not easily going to war against other countries, yeah, because war always involves killing, right? So in this case, I think the politicians and the people should develop the how do I say, love for human, yeah, love for humans rather than love for country. Love for country is okay because for the country government-wise, this is their responsibility to protect their people. But those politicians should have the love for the people, not necessarily their own people, but other people. Yeah? And then based on this, there should be, I think, there should be I think maybe how do I say? And we need not to develop exclusive view of our own people, but also based on the love for the people and maybe common humanity. Yeah? We can share the common humanity, but for me, common humanity is the love and wisdom. This is just very abstract, but this love and wisdom appear in a very, very different way, depending on the different different place, yeah, and natural environment. So I think it's good for us to develop the sensitivity to find the humanity appear in a different cultural and environment and social and context. Yeah. I think it's good for us to develop this capacity. Third one, sorry, longer. And
So make it brief, please.
yeah, third one. So third one is very short. And Banan-san show us the photo, yeah, Japanese people more than 80 years ago, and the current, and over 80 years, but people are doing the same, yeah. And this is this is very problematic, right? So maybe short response to that set of the photo is that those people who are still and just and printing the and then the rising sun photo and the hacking Croix and whatever. They are very unstable people, yeah? And they haven't yet found the common humanity actually. Common humanity that appeared in the different cultural context. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. So long. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Mikio Oishi. So now, Professor Kan Mikio, please. Turn on your microphone.
Thank you for noticing me. First, I'd like to apologize to you all for what Japan and the Japanese military and the Japanese government had done during the World War II and the colonial period. And I'm so sorry about the Japanese history and what we have done to you. And I hope we can sometimes get get the retaliation and get the build up the friendship again. And I think this is the beginning of today's talking of mine to you. And as Professor Bernard Karganilla showed us, especially to us Japanese, that have you forgotten what you have done, what we have done, and do we Japanese tell you to forget what Japanese done during the wartime? And in the forum, in the past forum, when I asked Dr. Karganilla, I'm quite sorry, but I'm not sure how many people, Japanese soldiers killed during wartime. You told me 1 million Filipinos were killed during the battle and war. And I got so ashamed because I did not know at the time such amount of people were killed. I knew that so many people were killed, but 1 million people were killed during the wartime. And I had no chance to apologize about that after that. So now I apologize what we have done to you. And I know that what we did to China and what we did to Indonesia and what we did to in China and all around. And so I have to apologize for the first in the beginning. And what's happening in Yasukuni, and all the soldiers came back, and maybe they play blowing the trumpet like it's like old soldiers during World War II, and they have the flag of Japanese maritime flag, and no difference as Mr. Professor Karganilla mentioned, and but they militarists and nationalists survived even after the World War II ended, because the U.S. Army military used Japanese old military in order to occupy Japan, and in order to face with the communists, especially after the Korean War. And they put the militaries back to the society, and they survived. And like Ishishiro, the doctor of who had the experience of human body in Chinese Manchuria, he went back to Kyoto University as a doctor without any punishment, in order to exchange the data they got during the experiment in the wartime. No punishment, and so every doctors who were in the Manchuria sprayed all over Japan. Number 3, military industry complex that President Eisenhower mentioned in his retirement speech. People in America, the United States, have to be really careful about what they will do, because they will control the direction of the nation of the United States into their way, in their way, as you all know, and they changed the style of United States, and the military industry complex now grabs all the countries, including Japan, maybe Korea. I'm not sure about Korea, if you're okay or not, but Japan is grabbed, and we cannot have control of our own nation, and our military budget got doubled, and it's too big to support ordinary people's life, and so. And they are preparing the war between China and Taiwan, or the Taiwan, China, Japan, and the United States are controlling trying to control the war between the country, among the countries. They may not. They will step back and control Japanese self-defense force, and we'll got ruined, and so we have to get out of this military industry complex control, and we need to build up the civilians solidarity and a good relationship, and that's what we have to do. And briefly, lastly, I would make a proposal of ASEAN plus 3. It is sometimes mentioned ASEAN plus China, Japan, Korea, but I'd like to add number 4. So ASEAN plus 4. It is North Korea. If we include the region into the North Korea into the region, we would build the happy, peaceful East Asia. So I would like you to give some reaction or hints or etc. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kan Mikio. So maybe we will have time for the last comments or question from Onet Tanedo, please.
Hi, good evening. I just want to share. I remember what I've learned in masters. It was said that anything beyond control, anything beyond your control or our control cannot be changed. So solving this massive conflict is very much difficult, I think. But as a senior, I already witnessed the massive changes from political shifts and economic crisis to the rise of digital activism and climate concerns. I've seen how conflict arises from division, misinformation, and inequality, but also how progress happens when people work together. I think to help resolve global conflicts, I think I must change. The change must starts within me, within my household. I can practice open communication, teach respect for different perspectives, and promote peace in my own family and community. If I raise children with understanding and fairness and empathy, they will grow into adults who contribute to a more peaceful world. Beyond my home, I can use the same digital platforms to spread the truth and the importance of voting wisely, support the ethical businesses, and stand for political policies that promote equality and sustainability. Since my generation's bridges traditional values and modern activism, we are in the unique position to connect people and create lasting change, starting within ourselves. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one raised her hand. So make it brief, please. Aisha Hapo.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, everyone. I would just like to support what Monette had said. And it would really start within ourselves. And actually, we should really be mindful on how we are really raising the next generation. I think that even if it's already a modern world that we are living in, it's very important to maintain the principles that are that are being kept or being given importance with by the even by the older generation, and we should definitely learn from the mistakes of the what had happened in the past. We should learn to be more considerate of one another, and definitely we should learn to set aside our pride, our personal differences, and really be more considerate. I guess that what would really keep us from having a third world war. And I would just actually like to extend my appreciation with the organizers of the forum, because this really enlightens everyone, especially the younger generation, even us, that we could really learn from the mistakes of others so that we don't repeat it anymore. They say that experience is the best teacher, but I strongly believe that actually the best teacher would be the experiences of others so that we don't have to walk the same path anymore. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Aja Hapo. I think with interest of time, maybe we will turn back to Professor Bernard Karganilla for his last summarize of and respond to all the questions or comments, and then Sung Ho will formally close the
Dr. Sweet,
forum.
I'm sorry, but I have 10 seconds. I made quite a big mistake. I'd like to tell the reconciliation, not retaliation.
All right.
Talking about reconciliation.
Yeah, very good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Professor Bernard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Sweet, for moderating. And I'd also like to recognize James Ofu in Africa is here with us. And thank you, the two Mikios, for sharing. And also, of course, my students. So, the anniversaries of World War II related events is not over. So there's still August and there's still September. So it gives us more opportunities to discuss this. But, well, Christina, I was referring to the original United Nations, the 1942 UN Declaration, that this war was fought to stop Hitlerism. So until Hitlerism is stopped, the mission is not finished. So it will be very hard to meet SDG number 16 if we do not pair it with the struggle against Hitlerism in all of its forms. So thank you to the students, Christel, Fraulein, danke. Our sibling Indonesians, all of our Japanese friends here, all of our Korean friends. And I hope we can follow this up with more concrete actions as people-to-people democracy, the real United Nations. Becca, good morning to you in the US. And of course, my friend Raymond. So there have been almost 90 of us here. Senor Manuel, gracias. So Sungho, I hope you satisfied
Yes, Sungho, please.
Forum in this season.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, it was very excellent, the forum with full of the young faces here. Okay, they're from mostly Philippines, and I after long absence, more than 2 months of our break. Okay, winter break. Okay, we are together here. Okay, our regular members. Already, Professor Bernard, he called or mentioned our regular members, but I should add or include Dr. Christiana Obogu. Okay, my pronunciation is not correct. From Nigeria. Okay, professor of public administration and gender studies, Department of Public Administration. Abafemi Aulo University, okay, Nigeria. Colleagues of Professor Rebecca Delancey, okay, welcome. Where's she? Okay. Welcome to our forum, okay. And in our discussion, what I really, in favor of some the comments of like Professor Mikio Oishi, common for humanity, and also the Kan Mikio-san, okay. What this I already mentioned as a host of this forum, this year is very special significance. I mean, the 80th anniversary of the end of the World War II, and in case of Korea and maybe Manila, the Philippines, the liberation, 80th anniversary of the liberation from the imperial list to the occupation, okay? And that's why the main purpose of that is we reflect on the past and we learn from the past and we can look forward, okay, at the future. This is a warning of our past. But already, Professor O mentioned, we are a little bit concerned about, the situation of the contemporary world. Okay, the many places like including Europe and some part of the world, more like a hard line. Okay, some the conservative, the people are more like chauvinistic or nationalistic. Their approach or the policy is we are a little bit worried about the trend, okay? And so we'd like to keep our discussion here, okay, in this forum. And the next forum, okay, because of this time, this day, March 20th is originally should be the March 13th, okay. Originally, the Professor Bernard Karganilla, he's supposed to start his forum March 20th, the 13th, but because of our some the kinds of the adjusting our time. I was there last week, in fact, in the Philippines, joined, his workshop, and we have some joint program in April, so we should pay attention to that. That's why we postpone the Bernard's this presentation today. So next week, originally it's a 2 weeks interval, but next week we'll still have our forum, okay? Next week, Thursday. March 27th, the second, the second of the series this year will be held. The speaker is Dr. Sandeep Mishra from India, and the topic is very interesting, historical reflection and the regional stability. The Korean Peninsula's role in shaping East Asia's future. Okay, so we chose Korean Peninsula because still in the present situation between the North Korea, South Korea, still we are at war technically. Okay, we are at war. Okay, so the stability in East Asia depends on also the Korean Peninsula. It's very important. Okay, so we could not ignore this part. That's why I invited the Professor Sandeep Mishra, who's an expert, specialist in East Asia, not only East Asia, but particularly the Korean issue, okay? And some the Korean panel will join here, okay? So I hope if you can spare time, please join us, okay, next Thursday, March 27th. And then after that, after March 27th, every 2 weeks, we hold our forum, okay? So 1 week later, we'll still have our forum, Thursday forum, okay? This is my announcement. And I also thank you, all of you, particularly the students, okay? Students, you join us here, and you joined, this discussion, had a very good discussion, and we can learn from each other, like a senior group and young, students group, the junior group. Okay, so this is very ideal, okay. So I'd like to take a photo. So if you just can open your face, okay, please show your face. So take one photo. This is the first the forum of this year. Okay, so Thank you, everybody. And let's call it a day today. Okay, very good. Okay, so until next forum, stay healthy and okay. And I also welcome you are coming to our forum. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Okay,
bye-bye.
say bye-bye. Okay,
See
keep
you next
healthy.
week.
Bye. Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Okay,
Have a
Professor
good day.
Mona, Dr. Phil. Okay.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Professor Bernard.